Oh, we don't need no fancy words. I mean, we need to practice. We need to rehearse.
I'll tell you what we need. We need some paying gigs. We don't need this messing around, first one patio and then another, and that's ridiculous.
Amen.
We don't got no goddamn band. We don't need to fucking practice with it.
All right, welcome to the No GD Band podcast. I'm Florida Man.
Florida Man. Hello, Florida Man.
Hello. Who are you?
I'm Chris.
Hi, Chris. You've heard of
Henry.
there's a whole subreddit about Florida Man. You know, the headlines. Have you seen that?
I just heard the whole joke on Atlanta. The character Darius was warning
Right. That's where I got
everybody
it.
about Florida
That's
Man.
where I found out about it. He was talking about Florida Man, and I Googled it and found this up. Florida Man lobs racial slurs, threatens another with gun in fishing rage incident. Florida Man gets rammed off of the road after driver throws change at him.
I love that, though, because it only really works with Florida.
Why is that?
Because-
I mean, that's the subject of our pod today.
Yeah, Florida is the subject of the podcast today, and Florida is that kind of place. It just does have that mystique.
It's this.
Is that a mystique?
Something in the water.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
There's something in the air about that place.
Well, I had to bring this up first. A little housekeeping.
What?
We talk a lot more in the intro about current events than at the end. So I thought we would change the segment name.
Yeah, it's probably good because it's on the top of the dome. Go ahead and get our current shit out of our head and on the table, and then we get into some deep cuts.
Right. So we're gonna move current events to the beginning, and I'm just gonna call that last section free for all or potpourri.
Sounds
Just whatever
good.
the fuck we want to talk
Wherever
about.
it goes.
Yeah. Well, here's one that you put on here, and I don't know what to say about this because I just can't imagine that they would fire Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac.
Got to be a reason. It's not just about. I just found out about it, but he's going to be replaced by Mike Campbell and Neil Finn.
I like how it always takes two guys to replace Lindsey Buckingham.
Yeah.
That's a good hint that probably you ought to think about replacing the guy before.
Listen to him play Big Love on his own. You'll know why two did.
I know. The finger picking alone is...
That guy cemented himself as like rock guy 101 the minute he picked up that song and did it the right way.
And as much as I love Mike Campbell and I love Neil Finn, I just think those guys needed to get to Mick Fleetwood before this came out. Hold on, PR move here. Don't say fired Lindsey Buckingham. What kind of pressure does that put on Neil Finn?
Yeah. Say Lindsey Buckingham leaves Fleetwood Mac or...
He's going on hiatus, and we wanted to continue, so we're gonna. He's irreplaceable, but Mike Campbell and Neil Finn, two awesome legends, are gonna fill in, and Lindsey's welcome back anytime he wants to come back.
Or just say, we really wanted to change.
Yeah, we really
And
wanted.
he said I don't know.
It's like saying to Steve Perry, we really wanted to change. We really wanted a little Asian guy that will imitate you.
Yes, right. And supposedly the songs are going to be good. It is Mike Campbell.
Are they going to write new songs? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or
They're playing the old songs, but they're going to write new ones too. The last Lindsey Buckingham, Fleetwood Mac songs, they were good. It wasn't Rumors, right? But they were serviceable and okay. But
I like that, though. I like that standard. It's the same standard George Harrison used to have, where it was like, yeah, you just wrote you wrote a good album. It wasn't Sgt. Pepper's.
right.
It wasn't Rumors. Well, there's only like 3 records in the world better than Rumors.
I like Lindsey Buckingham's solo work.
No, I do too, but I'm just saying,
No.
I think it's shitty to blame a guy in his 60s for not being able to recreate Rumors.
Right.
Like, come on, Mick, you're the fucking drummer.
Look, I'm just trying...
And and I know, a lot of this is Mick Fleetwood spends money like it's going out of style. He's got to tour all the time because he can't fucking live without it.
right.
Because he doesn't know how to save money. And the only way that anyone would go see Mick Fleetwood is if it's Fleetwood Mac. Right? Like, if he just went on a drum tour, nobody's going to show up to that shit. Tell me about this podcast you listen to. I want to dig into this a little bit.
So I just got back from Florida, and so I had a lot of time to travel and listen to podcasts, and one of the ones that I listened to was called 74 Seconds, and 74 seconds is the amount of time it took the police officer that stopped Philandro Castile to stop the car, visit his driver's side window, and murder him.
For those of you that don't remember, this is the one where his girlfriend was sitting beside him in the car and cell phone videoed the entire incident. When he told the police officer he had a gun and he didn't want to pull it out because he didn't want to get shot, and the police officer went nuts and shot him. And it was a routine traffic stop. So you listened to the podcast, and you thought it was really well done.
It was really well done. They went chapter by chapter and looked at all the evidence. They went back to tapes that involved the police officer previously. They looked at his behavior. They looked at Philandro Castile's life in detail and gave a breakdown, really, of the kind of person both of these men were. And then they went week by week as the trial unfolded, provided some commentary on that. But I highly recommend it. One of when I say the best bits, one of the most moving bits was when Philandro Castile's mother spoke to the press after the police officer was acquitted of all 3 charges. She was so full of righteous anger that was just bleeding out of her.
Yeah, and that's the angle I wanted to take. And I know this is going to be weird to work in, but when you told me about this, that element of it kind of, for me, opened up why, back when we all went through the O.J. Simpson thing, why we couldn't all believe why the African-American community was so happy about O.J., who was obviously guilty, being acquitted. And I think their level of anger is so high now because every one of these cases goes against black people. I mean, the Castillo case to me is obviously that cop should be prosecuted, and he's not. And it's over.
He was prosecuted,
but he doesn't.
Was found he was acquitted.
Right, but over and over and over that happens. And I think they were just happy to get one back. I watched recently on Hulu. They've got the lost O.J. Simpson tapes. And basically, I guess, I don't know if you remember, but the Fox network. This girl had, reporter had paid O.J. Simpson $1 million to do an interview where basically it was, if I did it. And it was supposed to be hypothetical. And so for the Hulu thing, they brought in Christopher Darden.
Right.
So they brought in Nicole Brown, Simpson's one of her best friends. And they brought in the reporter lady that did this interview. Basically, when the public heard that it was going to come out back then, Christopher Darden led the charge to have this not shown.
Why did he do that?
Because he felt it was... the Goldman family came to him and said, please don't let them show this. This is disrespectful to my son's memory to have this criminal get on television and get paid $1 million to go on TV and basically walk us through murdering my son. And so Chris Darden led the charge, and the public was outraged that this was even going to happen, and it got buried. Well, one of the things about this on Hulu that kind of blew my mind was Darden, first thing he did was he apologized because he did that without actually having seen it.
Oh, really? So it was repackaged. Hulu
It's
repackaged.
repackaged.
It's not just the raw thing.
No, it's repackaged with a host and that reporter. And so the reporter walks you through, and they show you some outtakes from it where he's real uncomfortable before they start taping, and he's like, she thinks he's about to walk, like he's not going to go through with it, and he keeps saying, I'm going to keep saying this is hypothetical. This is hypothetical. And then he even says the only reason he's doing this, the main reason he's worried about doing this is he doesn't want his kids to think that he murdered their mother. So what he basically says is, only reason I'm worried about saying this is hypothetical is not because I didn't murder her. It's because I don't want my kids to think I murdered her. When he describes what happened, it only lasts about 5 minutes, but it's chilling. He starts out by saying...
Does he tell the whole story?
He tells the story, and he starts out by talking about he and a friend, who he says is named Charlie, get a knife. Hypothetically, we would have got a knife. We would have drove over there, blah, 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 blah. And about halfway through, they stop it, and the host guy asks the reporter, like, what were you thinking when he was talking about this friend? What's his? She says, I think he's making that up in his mind so that he can psychologically deal with this. Like he's splitting off.
Like a partitioning off of a character.
Yes. But once he gets to the details, the friend thing goes away and all the hypothetical stuff starts going away. And he stops saying things like, if I did, I would have done it. He just starts going. And all of a sudden, for 2 minutes, I go blank. And when I come back, there's blood everywhere. And that guy's laying on the ground. And I've stabbed him like a X number of times. And Nicole's laying there and like her head's almost ripped off. And it is obvious. It's like watching The Confession. And then some other interesting points about it is like when he first talks about walking up to the scene, he says, I see this guy. And he's like, Nicole comes stumbling out like she'd already hurt herself or something. And they stop that and the reporter goes, he'd already stabbed her. That's how she hurt herself. And then he starts talking and he goes, this guy's going, you want to fight? You want to fight? And he's like, this guy's talking to me? This guy's talking to me? And he's like, all right, bro. And so it's chilling. But anyway, my point of that coming up is it's obvious that guy did it and that he murdered her and murdered Ron Goldman.
So just on you're
but
saying
the black community they weren't happy because a murderer got off. I think a lot of us in the white community missed the thing that like you just want him to get off because you love him even though he's a murderer. No, they are so used to watching murderer after murderer after murderer cop get away with killing their people. They were just happy to get one back, and that's horrible. That's how we put people in our society in that kind of place where they're just happy to get one back, even if he's the biggest murdering shithead in the world. That's the scary.
And the most non-white black guy.
Yes,
I mean the most
non-black
black guy.
Yeah, somebody that they don't even
a white guy by default or something.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's where we've put them. That's where we've made them feel that alienated from society that they were just happy to get this chillingly cold murder back. But if you have any doubts about whether O.J. Simpson did it, watch that.
I don't have any, but I'll sure watch that. The whole podcast will outrage any right thinking person into wondering why in the hell we don't have a separate body in the Justice Department that would try
these cop
cases.
Yeah, because there's no way you're going to get an independent, unbiased prosecution in these cases locally because these prosecutors have to work with these cops. They work with them to get all their other convictions.
Yeah, and that's the way the job is.
So you're not going to piss where you got to sleep.
I mean, anyway, you owe it to yourself to listen to it. It's a long one. It's going to take you about 20 minutes per episode, maybe about 12 to 13 parts.
We hit some heavy shit here, Henry. I need some whiskey.
Yeah, man.
God damn.
Let's do it.
All right.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. No, don't ask why. For we must find the next whiskey bar. Or if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die.
Queef.
They have the greatest bottle opening sound.
That is the sound of opening a 1792 whiskey, my friends.
It's small batch 1792. Guess what it refers to?
I have no idea.
This refers to the year, the year that Kentucky became a state.
Right.
In 1792.
Yes.
It's positioned as a premium brand, a competitor to Knob Creek or Woodford Reserve. It even looks a little bit like Woodford Reserve.
That's a good point because it kind of reminds me a little of Knob Creek.
So,
which I actually like.
There's some good stuff.
We've had a couple weeks in a row where I'm just going to have to tell you, honestly, I have not been digging.
How come we mostly agree on whiskey? Is it because we drank together so much coming up through
that's it.
that we just come of age?
Do we both agree that we've had 2 weeks of not
great?
And I've got to bring this up, Henry, because I edited the last podcast, and this has not happened before.
What?
But it was very noticeable And for you guys out there listening, I took a lot of these out just to spare you. But after we started hitting the high west, which was last week's flavor, the number of times we said the word fuck went up.
Really?
Oh, by the end, we were just saying fuck like we were a couple of like... It even
Maybe you
sounded
were
like,
pissed off about something.
No. I mean, it was just in general. Oh, every topic. And I would say something to you like, fucking Corolla Hoist is the fucking best fucking song from the fucking 90s, man. Let's fucking play it. And you're like, fuck it, that's the shit. It was almost like a comedy skit there for a minute. I was blown away.
So High West made us want to curse?
I'm just saying.
Is it because
which
we didn't
neither
like
of
what
us
we were
really
drinking?
like. No, I think it was, we drank it.
Yeah,
Like we didn't.
It's
drink it.
booze.
Yeah. Well, there's a brand that I will never hit again because it made me go crazy. It was
What?
called Fighting Cock.
Oh, God almighty.
So
I got stories about the fucking junkyard dog.
So I think
comes
High
out
West
when you
may
take
be-
the Fighting Cock. For those of you that don't know, my friend here fucking busted a table one time on the Fighting Cock. Believe me, I don't want to ever see that fucking guy ever again.
But what I'm saying is that's what led me to believe that the High West had something going on because the level of aggression was palpable on the edit. So anyway, go ahead and get to the main segment. Let's talk about some Florida.
Yeah.
Woo!
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. No, don't ask why. For we must find the next whiskey bar. Or if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must find.
Let's talk about Florida.
Florida. So I just got
This
back.
is our first episode dedicated to a state.
Florida is the weirdest fucking state in the world. I've always known this, right? But I didn't get to feel it until I got there. First of all,
You just spent almost a week in Florida.
what is with all these fucking toll roads? God almighty. I have this app that I pulled up. Now it's called Paytolo. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
You can keep it on your phone.
Shout out.
And drive through the tolls, and you can pay your tolls directly. You don't have to have a bunch of cash. Did you have to pay a bunch of
that's
tolls when
great.
you were there?
Yeah, of course.
How did you do it?
With like
Cash money?
money, yeah.
You had to drive through it? Not anymore. Keep the app open on your phone.
Well,
you drive
I-
through the
I-
easy pass lane like everybody else.
I fly now. I don't drive.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forget some of us don't roll that hard and have to drive it. or
1792. Every time you do that, I'm going to go 1792.
God, they have a great squeaky bottom.
1790.
You guys should put that on your commercial or something. So you recommend that rather than driving the 10 hours listening to podcasts? Just go rent a car.
Well,
So-
I'm not trying to bond with my daughter since I don't have one. But yeah,
Well, that's not. I mean, I could have done a lot of bonding without having to ride in a car.
then
for-
I would say definitely take a plane.
Next time I'll do that. I told her, I said, maybe we'll fly down there and do the other stuff. But while,
But you got the broad view. You got the full view. Jacksonville.
I
all the way
did.
down.
I stayed in an RV between Orlando and the Space Coast, Kennedy Space Center.
You were Florida. You were Florida and hard.
I was Florida and hard.
You were Florida.
The neighborhood we stayed in was the coolest. It was like they have no problem with like mobile homes there, but you also had all levels of mobile homes. Like you had some that were kind of funky and looked like they'd been added onto. And, everything wasn't a shanty. It was just kind of just a funky place to live. Right? There were like two halves of a fucking mobile home stuck. It looked like it was stuck together. We're not talking. It's not double wide, man.
No.
It's not a double wide. It's two actual fucking mobile homes glued together. And I imagine there were doorways cut inside the fucking thing. It's
Probably looks
amazing.
amazing inside. Yeah.
But it was like, I can't believe that these people get away with. Is there no codes here?
I don't think there is. There's also a freedom kind of thing. To
Oh, the guy
Florida.
said when I pulled up to the RV, nicest guy in the world. Looks like us. Really, it's that kind of neighborhood. If you could take like Starmount and Plaza Midwood, but put it in Florida, that's kind of the neighborhood it is. They have farms and shit. They've got like chickens in the back. Just interesting people, really.
Right.
Not your standard rednecks, but just some actually interesting world traveling type of people, it seemed, that have chosen to live there. Next door, there was a mobile home, a nice, well-appointed mobile home with an Israeli flag
Oh yeah.
hoisted high.
Yes.
No U.S. flag.
Right.
It was the Israeli flag.
Yeah. There's a large Jewish contingent in South Florida.
And so that was really interesting. And also, I don't want to say this. I don't want this to even sound. I know it won't sound racist, but it's an observation. There were folks there that looked Caucasian like me, that were speaking Spanish straight up.
Right.
Like that was just the language they spoke. You wouldn't have expected that. They might have been bilingual. I don't know, but
Right.
they could have been Cuban. Like you can't tell by the color of someone's skin whether they're from Spain or
Have you ever watched Univision or whenever the soap operas come on, the Mexican soap operas? Do you ever in your head go, there's a white person on it?
There's a white person.
I can't be. And then I'm like, God, you're such a racist.
I know.
Like, there's white people that live in Mexico.
You're like bearing witness to yourself. Like, what are you?
I do that every time.
Well, of course, white people speak Spanish. You
I'll see
fucking
this
moron.
on the Univision soap opera. I'll see this blonde dude walk in the room, and I'll think he's going to go, wait a minute. Somebody needs to speak English. But he'll walk in and go,
yeah, exactly. I'm looking at a whole family of people, and the daughter of the family is like in skater gear, nose pierced, black stuff on, black stuff on,
you're
goth kid, whitest of white, and they're speaking Spanish.
She should have a sombrero on and ride a donkey.
That's why I'm like, you fucking white cracker ass. Why would you think that? I know.
Well, tell me about. I mean, I know we know you went down there for the vacation.
I did. Took my daughter with me. We 4 days of crazy back-to-back activity.
Give me the reviews. Come on, give me. I am a Disney fanatic, so give me the reviews.
I got Universal and Disney. Let's talk about them, and then I want to talk about NASA.
You know, I'm a Harry Potter freak, so I want to hear it. I want to hear about it.
They executed that perfectly.
Yeah.
There's really no other. I mean, when you walk into, I don't know the names of the places.
I always called it Harry Potter World, but I feel like that's weird. I don't think that's what it's called.
In fact, it wasn't really labeled clearly, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah,
when you walked,
you had to walk like from the book. You had to walk.
You suddenly walked in between something that wasn't even labeled. That's like they were taking a lot of little pages. I swear to God, I think they hired some of these Disney Imagineers to come in there and do this. The thing that disappointed me a little bit was, you know how in Disney the storefronts aren't real, some of them. Well, there was a lot of storefronts in all of Universal and all of Harry Potter World. What do they call it, man? Hogsmeade? No, it's not Hogsmeade.
It's called the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
The Wizarding World, but that's a town or something. Anyway,
no, that's what they call it.
So those are the big thing to see there is Harry Potter. The other stuff is cool too, but that's the big selling point. That's what's on all the stuff. And so you go and you see all the shops and everything that have wands in them that people wander in. The people, dude. Okay,
real fans.
I mean, yes. There were people walking around in Harry Potter clothes and shit. I'm grown-ass men, people our age, wearing their Harry Potter T-shirt, like Griffin, Holland, Gryffindorf, and whatever it was. The Hufflepuff and all that, team this and that. I saw some guy with a real Quidditch outfit on, like walking around. A whole family's.
I was going to show you. I have my Raven's Claw keychain that I bought at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. But also, I sat and I was drinking butterbeer. Did you grab any butterbeer?
No, it's too crowded.
Oh man,
it's like so thick over there.
If you were into Harry Potter, that place is so good. Like you were talking about, where they recreated the way you enter between the cracks in these two bars into this street where Gringotts is. I mean, it's just
the details of this thing.
Details.
The
train,
the Hogwarts
Express.
You're down the street, and it's got the perfect perspective of the movie. Like if you were watching the movie, you could see down the street, and this enormous dragon
on top of the thing,
just kind of hulking over like this,
And little details, and I don't know if you notice, like when you get to the end of that street, you can take a left, and there's like a dead end.
Yes.
If you just watch at the end of the dead end, at different times, different lights will come on in different windows.
I didn't.
And then like candles will just float by the windows.
Did you go at night?
But it's totally random. Like I stood there and watched for like 15 minutes to catch one happen.
Really?
But some guy older than me in a robe and shit goes, dude, look, check it out. And I was like, even I'm a nerd. Megan can tell you, I was nerding out. The level of nerdiness of the adults was a little.
My daughter was cringing. She says, first of all, I hate Harry Potter. Like, this is very good, but everybody who likes Harry Potter at my school is like that. She goes, ugh.
I'm a Ravensclaw. You don't.
I have
really,
no idea what I am.
Oh, come on, Henry.
I don't know. Why would you know? Is there some questionnaire or something I have to fill out?
You've been to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and you didn't pick your favorite house?
Why would I do that? I don't know anything about that stuff.
Okay, so what else did you think about Universal?
It seemed to be closer to downtown, right? So everything seemed really compacted together. The rides were like sort of variations on a theme, mostly a few roller coasters and 3D moving chair stuff.
All right, let me ask you this. Let me cut to the chase.
A little bit.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
We live in a town, for those of you that don't live in Charlotte, that has an amusement, we think it's pretty well known, called Carowinds.
Yeah.
So let's do a 10-point scale, just for the folks out there. You've also been to Six Flags in Atlanta.
No, I have not.
Okay. You've been to Busch Gardens.
Years ago.
Okay, so I'm going to rate them, and I want you to rate them too, based on your personal experience. Have you been to any besides Carowinds, Disney, and Universal?
Haven't been to any of those.
Okay, so I'll just name them, and you give me your rating. I'll give you mine. Six Flags, you've not been. I'm going to give it whatever the exact same rating Carowinds is, because it's the exact same fucking thing. So
it's a
I'm going to
6.
give it a 6.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give Carowinds a 6.
Yep.
I'm going to give Busch Gardens a 7 just because.
What's better about Busch Gardens?
The rides. So the rides. So like Busch Gardens is like just like Carowinds and Six Flags, except the rides were no fucking joke. Like, you got to be ready to like be on the verge of puking if you want to go to Busch Gardens. Which I'm going to give that a 7.
So the rides are a little scarier.
The rides are a little bit more man up. This is going to be the toughest rides of anywhere I've been are Busch Gardens. Okay.
But you're saying, like, have you been to Carowinds recently?
No, so I don't know. I'm sure the rides at Carowinds, I've heard.
The Fury,
yeah,
and the Intimidator.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm just going on my own experience.
Yeah, rides like Carowinds has got it all over Universal in terms of
rides,
of roller coaster.
Okay,
rides.
then are you sure you want to give it a 6? Because I'm going to ask.
Depends on what you like.
Well, what do you like? What is on your scale?
I like the
experience more than the ride.
I'm looking for the experience more.
Okay, so what do you rate Universal?
So I'd give them a solid 8.
Okay, I'm going to give Universal a 7 because I feel like it's still closer to Carowinds than Disney to me. And we talked about this a little bit.
It's gotten better since you visited, maybe.
It still feels like if I walk up to the average employee at Universal, I'm not going to get any help. I'm not going to get any kind of...
So at Universal, they're probably going to sue us. Universal, they're trying really hard to drive that culture in the Disney service culture into its employees. They haven't quite made it yet.
Right.
It just isn't working. I think you have to start from the ground up with something like that. The people at the front were nice, but could have been more helpful to me and my daughter trying to get around. It was
I'm going to give Disney a 9 because of the service level.
Well, why are you giving them a 9? What are you holding back on Disney?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm holding back on Disney.
What the hell? You ain't got nothing to compare it to.
No, wait. Before I give you my full review of Disney, Disney's a 9, but because the quality at Disney, like you're not going to find broken kiosks and shit.
Right.
And you're going to find a level. What I like about Disney is the level of, like when you're in line, like they recognize you're going to be in line a long time, and the level of detail in the line is very interesting. Like I get off on waiting in line to see Space Mountain. I almost don't even give a shit about the roller coaster because the line was so cool. But I'm not the rides are not that great at Disney, so I'm not like. But I see. But I'll tell you why I'm giving it a 9.
What?
Because there is this underlying cultish, pseudo-Christian fucking... I feel like I'm at Bible camp.
Better than thou. Is that the bit you're coming into?
Well,
are you coming at from some holier than thou outlook?
Yeah, because like this underlying smell of puritanicism, like Pat Boone is actually running the whole thing.
Yeah.
But other than that, I give it a 9, and I'm saying You're not going to walk up to an employee at Disney with a concern, even if it's the lowest employee there who isn't going to try to meet your needs completely.
Well, the reason why that's good is there are other things at work. Like when I'm trying to battle the heat, when I'm trying to stay hydrated, when I've got a little girl that I'm trying to bring along, let's say I've got 3 or 4 of them and I need there's some bright bits of humanity, a little bit of caring, right? Even if it's
that's important.
Even if you feel like it's superficial, the fact that it's codified in the law of the land, when you're battling all that and you're going to stand in line for an hour to do it, the thing you're going to see is worth seeing.
Yeah, it's like we're going to do everything we can to try
to make this good.
Right. Well,
that's the gold standard in theme
this part of
parks.
Florida, because this is one part of Florida I never got to experience. What was the NASA?
Okay, this is where I get
space.
Dude, this is where I get real on your ass. Okay. You've never been to Kennedy Space Center?
I've never been to the Space Coast. I've never seen any of that stuff.
You and I started a band years ago. We called it Galaxy Girl, and I think some of this had a lot to do with our fascination with space and a lot of the things that sort of surrounded that. And I realized, early in my life, what kind of fascination it had for me. The space shuttle, had special meaning for me. And growing up, I was 10 years old when they launched this thing. That was the Columbia, STS-1, right? It was 20 years to the day that thing launched from the date of the first space flight. It wasn't even planned to be that, supposedly, right? They had a technical delay. It was supposed to launch 2 days prior, but there was a technical problem.
Right, because they don't have fun. They don't celebrate stuff like that.
I mean, I think there was a launch window.
I love how NASA's like that, but then Elon Musk names his new rocket the BFG, the big fucking rocket, or whatever, the BFR.
I know. BFR, big fucking rocket.
Well, I mean, that's what it stands for. I didn't mean to sidetrack you, but yeah,
that's all. Yeah, I mean that is kind of cool. There it is, BFR SpaceX.
Yeah, that's the new one. That's the one that's going to go to Mars. It's going to be called the BFR.
A new tooling for the BFR spaceship. That's hilarious. Anyway, let me get to what I was saying.
I know.
So,
I'm sorry. I sidetracked you.
The Columbia then, launched over the decades 27 missions. It disintegrated when it came back down to Earth because of the tiles. Everybody knows that. You didn't get to see it blow up.
I remember
Challenger, we saw it blow up.
But the reason we didn't see Columbia was we were so used to space shuttles.
Yeah, they had stopped.
We didn't even give a shit.
Yeah, we didn't give a shit anymore. And then Columbia reminded us, oh, wait, this is serious shit.
Well, I remember my first thought about Columbia was, why are they still flying that old piece of shit?
Mm-hmm.
That was my first thought.
Because it got old.
And old. It was
20-something.
Wasn't that it's supposed to be its last mission or something?
I don't know.
Because I was like,
I can't.
Do you remember what was the first one that was the trial one that never actually went in space that they put in the museum? Was it called Enterprise?
I think it was the Enterprise that was the test ship.
The test one that they would always try to they'd launch it off the back of a 747 and see if it could fly.
Yeah, it was the test shuttle.
Right. That was the shit. That was the shit that captured mine and your imagination.
Yeah,
watching Enterprise be loaded on the back of a
because dude, it was a spaceship.
Right.
It wasn't a fucking rocket.
It wasn't a module or
no,
a capsule.
It wasn't a capsule, which was cool enough. Right. Capsules were cool,
but this thing was sitting on the back of a 747.
It looked like a plane.
Right. And then it was going to land. It could land,
and you could reuse it. So some dude you knew was in it, and so.
And it could fly and land and shit, just like what you thought was supposed to be.
It looked like a fucking spaceship.
Right. Even though now, looking back, it was a detour that we should never have taken. So we should have been starting in the 80s trying to go to Mars.
We're not thinking of that at 10 years old. We're just enamored with the idea that men could learn enough and to have balls enough to put together something to get on a fucking rocket.
I
go
disagree
to outer space.
I disagree with you. I think you had it nailed before. I think me and you were fooled by it looked like a spaceship, like what we thought spaceships were supposed to look like.
Well,
but we didn't think of things like this. Think of this, Henry.
I don't know.
The
idea of this started in the 70s.
The generation before us went to the fucking moon.
Yeah. That's amazing.
The space shuttle is a step back. All it does is just orbit Earth.
I get that. Boring. I get that, but it, you have to understand that it was a reusable craft that looked like a spaceship.
And that's great. And basically, it was a milk truck that went to space.
And I think that you may be right if you look at it on a trajectory, because look what it did. Poured so much time, effort, and emotional collateral in this bus.
A bus. A thing to deliver satellites.
Which it should have ran through the 80s, and we should have picked up in the 90s and done something else.
Well, the thing that, I don't know if you remember this, Henry, but the thing we were sold about the Shuttle 2 was it's going to build this massive space station.
Well, that was the
where
thought.
we're going to launch for Mars from.
You see, but do you feel the romance around that idea?
Yeah,
was about it, because the stuff we were told was, this will be an era that humanity will become united. Into the international spaceship, we'll all be united in some great cause.
Yeah, because this thing's going to build a city,
right?
That's going to launch us to Mars.
But do you see why stuff like that would have such a guy like me? My family was ripping apart in the 80s. It was chaotic, and to look at something like that.
I always feel like the Jehovah's Witnesses, when we were kids, and me and you talked, they would always poo-poo on anything fun.
No.
Like I would say, Henry, what did you think about Eddie Murphy? And you were like,
no,
Eddie
we
Murphy,
went there when I was a kid, and we saw the VAB, a vehicle assembly building. It's the largest, they got 44-ton doors that open up. They build the rocket in there. And
what do they do with that shit now?
They roll it out. They're building rockets now for the new Orion capsule that's going to take us to Mars. I think we can poke holes in NASA all day long. But I want to get to the narrative of this story a little. So when I was a kid, space was like wrapped in mystery, It was seen as sort of an escape from what I had. Men could actually build things as seen on TV. It wasn't a fake place with clouds and like fucking ghosts and dragons and unicorns and bullshit like that. Or superheroes. It wasn't fake shit, you know what I mean? Science was real. It was like tangible and knowable, and there were like real results.
So basically, let's break this down. You just hated the Lord of the Rings.
So, no. The launches were loud. The spaceships were cool. It wasn't like a divine gift, right? It didn't require anything like that. Men figured out how the fuck to fly to the moon and how to get into orbit and to be fucking Buck Rogers. And it's not fiction, it was a real thing that could be done. So, and all of that it bled over into like music, and it meant something. My Bloody Valentine is what a shuttle launch is supposed to feel like.
Yeah,
it's a shake your fucking brain and put you in the atmosphere, disorient you.
I think culture fizzled out in the 90s, man.
So when they mothballed all the shuttles, right? The shuttle program.
Atlantis. So tell me the shuttles that are still around. Atlantis?
Enterprise.
Columbia.
Challenger. Discovery.
These sound like Ford SUVs,
and
by the way.
Atlantis. So
the new Ford Atlantis built Ford-duh.
And so they've got the solid rocket boosters, and they've got the middle
like
thing.
a rock.
You gonna let me tell the fucking story?
Riding arrow straight like a rock.
What a douche.
Which ones are there? What's left?
Atlantis is there. So you go, and outside they've got a really big building, enormous, like swooping looking building, and you don't see it at all. You go in, and there's the two solid rocket boosters and the little thing outside. And so you go in, and they have a circular walkway where people queue up to go into see this nice presentation about the space program and how they worked on it for years and what it was supposed to be about and all of that stuff. And so then the crowd adjourns to this next room. Bijou and I were tired. You got to understand, I was at Universal one day, all day. I was at Universal all day the next day. We had to be up early to make sure that we were on the fucking bus at 10 o'clock, right, to drive around the Space Center to see all the launch pads and see SpaceX and all those places. So we get back, and I'm getting in line at Atlantis, and we see this movie. It was really great. It looks like somebody knew what they were doing when they directed it. Like, it wasn't just a piece of bullshit. It was, like, really good. And so you go to this next room, and they've got you, it's like this 360 movie experience. They've got this sort of circular area in front, like a a dome-looking screen in the very front, and along the sides they've got like little fans of 3D. So it's like a surround. Like the old at Disney they had the circular movie, but it's surrounding you.
Right.
And I'm sitting on the ground, and I'm kind of movie pretty moving. I'm sitting next to my kid, and I'm thinking a lot about how I was here when I was younger and what all this stuff meant to me and so all of those things are sort of hitting my head, where my family was, what space travel has always meant to me, what that sort of iconic space shuttle thing was in my head. And so the movie stops and the screen fades, and it's the nose of the fucking spaceship right in your face. Like right there. Enormous.
The real nose.
The real nose of the actual spaceship. And like 30 feet away from where you are. And my mouth just drops to the fucking floor. And my knees feel weak because it's just like, it's awe-inspiring how big this fucking thing was. And all of that.
And it's been in space.
And it's been in space, and like I could be there with it, like for the first time after just watching it on TV. It was like the object of a lot of like fantasy and ideas that just kind of around my youth and all of that. And I went and I started bawling like a baby. Like
I knew it. I knew you were going to cry.
Tears were coming down.
What did you do when you cried?
I embarrassed my kid. But I got to tell you, man, it was one of the most moving things in the world to be next to something like that. But I saw, it wasn't just, that was the highlight of my trip, obviously. There's nothing to compare with
it made you cry,
that.
so.
Well, it was a movie. It was also made me happy. It was very cathartic. It's like the end of a circle, to come back and see that.
And I'll be honest with you, my impression of your story, though, is that it was sad.
No. I started crying just because I had so much emotion surrounding
me. No,
it.
not that you cried.
Not just
I think
that.
that's great. What's sad to me was that the shuttle program has become a carny ride.
I didn't think of it that way. It didn't come off that way.
But I'm telling you what it feels like, what you're relating to me. The Kennedy Space Center is kind of ghost townish.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not as popular as it once was, but it's still
nothing's going on.
Except a lot of people are there on the fucking place and launching rockets.
Whatever a private company is doing.
Yeah, they're doing it.
Whichever they want to do, not our national.
They've leased a place there for 20 years, but so a bunch of other people.
Whatever our national will is not being done. It's whatever a private company wants to do for profit.
Yeah, NASA would tell you otherwise.
Atlantis, if I could anthropomorphize Atlantis and it could talk, it would be like I've turned into a fucking carnival ride to make 40-year-old men cry.
I guess.
Instead of flying through space.
Well, it's not.
It's what I was designed.
It's not. We've got more technology in our cell phones than that thing fucking had.
Which is exactly the point. No one gives a shit. Your daughter is more impressed with her iPhone than she is with the fucking space
and that's why we got to do other things now.
Well, maybe we ought to do a whole episode on the space.
That.
This sounds like a topic we need to revisit.
I guess I've said all I want to say about Florida. Go to NASA. You should, if you give a shit.
I think everybody has heard.
It's not over yet.
That they should go to NASA.
It's not over yet.
I'm glad you think that, and I'm pro NASA. I'm anti that we've turned our back on NASA, but I hope your enthusiasm.
I wonder if Trump's going to get those guys some more money.
Jesus Christ, Trump. Okay, let's go to our potpourri segment. All right, Henry, this is a new segment, potpourri. Whatever you want to talk about, we're just going to jam on some...
the potpourri. But the secret of the potpourri is it's not really a potpourri because we've got it pretty well mapped out and shit. We kind of know what we're going to talk about.
What are we talking about?
Well, something called a Home Depot bucket. What the fuck is that?
I got into this discussion with Megan, and what I actually want to talk about...
Here's what I think you're going to talk about. You're going to talk about that guy that used to play drums on the Home Depot bucket, right? Nope. That guy.
Wasn't even going to bring up the drumming.
He used to pop it like that. You remember he would take it between his legs and play it, and then pull it up for the bass.
No, you were totally wrong.
Okay.
But the reason I brought up the Home Depot bucket was my wife and I got into a discussion of the Lowe's Home Depot home improvement, how they took over from mom and pops, kind of the blockbuster
Yep.
videoization of
Home improvement.
home improvement. And when we're talking about this, I made the comment to her that the whole reason that Home Depot took over the world was the bucket.
The orange bucket.
The big orange bucket, and she disagreed with
How do you
me.
explain Lowe's then? There's
Okay,
no
but
blue.
hold on. I mean,
All right.
no one knows about the fucking Lowe's blue bucket,
I don't know. There ain't one.
right?
Yeah, but why did Lowe's get popular then?
Okay, hold on. Lowe's was already popular. This is what people forget. Lowe's was the giant
Right.
in the industry.
You're right.
And all of a sudden, Home Depot took over, and I'm crediting the bucket. Now, Megan says that's crazy. I wanted to try to get some backup, so I'm asking you. In my opinion, my first real notion of Home Depot as a serious entity was they got this rad-ass orange fucking bucket. I never even knew I wanted a bucket until I went to Home Depot.
That you needed.
I never even needed a bucket. But they fucking dominated the market with a bucket. So I'm trying to get an outside opinion.
Well, you're dropping. I really have to think about that.
Did you-
Lowe's existed
Lowe's was,
before Home Depot,
and they were the industry leader.
Somewhere in the years since,
I looked this
Home
up.
Depot was seen, at least in my mind. I don't know
They're
if
like
this,
a weed that grew
everybody
and
else.
overtook Lowe's.
Did I come to think of Home Depot as the more affordable alternative to Lowe's? Lowe's seemed like just a blown up at some point, a more blown up version of like a True Value.
Okay, so
where the guys in there were still the same dudes of True Value. I'm just giving you my
No, I love this.
perception.
This is my.
I don't know this to be
is-
true about
this
the
is-
bucket though.
No,
but-
this is interesting to me. The delineation that different people have. You just saw it as something different than Megan completely.
Well, I mean, I saw it as just a bigger True Value.
Right. Okay. So here's my impression.
Hardware.
I just saw it as they had a cool orange bucket.
Oh, Home Depot.
Yes, and they
Yeah.
just dominated because they had this fucking color scheme and a bucket.
The orange
Whereas
color
Lowe's was late to the bucket game, and the blue bucket ain't cutting it.
You walk into a place, you know, you walk into somebody's house. If they have the orange bucket,
Everyone has an orange bucket.
What it says to you is that the guy is doing something, doing a thing, is buying stuff to make a change of a thing. It's orange. It drives your eye. It makes you look in the corner, right? And they were
Website.
cheap. They were $5, and you could grab one. And if you needed a bucket, you
Even
didn't
if you-
have to buy some specialized pail. You just bought a $5 big ass bucket.
Come on, let's admit it. The first couple times you ever went to Home Depot, you're like,
I get a bucket.
Henry, I didn't know that you'd seen this movie.
Yes,
I went-
You
I
tried
went-
to sneak one in on me, but I got you.
Yeah, you
I
got
got
me.
you on this one.
I went the other night.
You thought your opinion was going to go untested and unchecked, but no, sir. Mr. Gordon has actually seen this movie.
I want to go down a side path real quick.
Fuck that. That's why you're doing this. You know, a side path. The fuck. First you throw water on my space shuttle. Now you want to take a side path because I know something about this movie. Let me put a cork in it. 1792.
1792. So I got this thing recently
Yeah.
called Movie Pass.
What's that?
So Movie Pass is a company that has now dropped their membership fee to $6.99 a month. They will send you a debit card, which when you get within 500 feet of the movie theater, you have an app on your phone, a Movie Pass app. You tell them you're getting ready to go to the movie. They load your debit card right there with the fee for the movie, however much the movie costs. You go see the movie. You can see one movie a day.
Are you
For
kidding me?
365 days of the
You
year
gotta be shitting
for
me.
$6.99 a month.
No.
So Chris Lunnan went to Cinebar and saw Ready Player One by himself and then spent $21 on fucking food.
God almighty, dude. Does it go everywhere? Every movie place?
So I'm
AMC?
So I'm skeptical. So I looked it up. It goes basically to every movie theater you want to go to. How are they getting away with this? It turns out they're getting away with it. They're losing their shit on this. The reason they are is because they're selling my data.
Oh.
So they're selling but what data are they selling, you might ask?
Yeah,
They're selling
what are they selling?
my name,
So?
how old I am,
So?
what time of day I go to movies,
All publicly
what
available.
movies do I go to,
Okay.
how often do I go to the movies.
Hmm.
I don't care if they track that data for me. I can go to one movie a day, every 24-hour period, for a whole month. No, for a whole year, for $6.99 a month.
Huh.
So I went to see Ready Player One, and I asked the kid at the kiosk, how much is this movie? And he said it's $11. And boom, I've already paid for my movie pass for a month with one movie. And I haven't even gone to see another movie yet.
I got to tell my wife about this.
I was pretty jacked. Megan doesn't seem that excited. I'm like...
No, it's like an unlimited... It's like the express pass for movies.
All right, let's talk Ready Player One. Sorry, that was my side road, but I thought you'd be into it.
Thank you. You just did it. Movie Pass should pay us an endorsement here.
Here's my unvarnished opinion of Ready Player One. Something rang completely hollow about the whole movie. It didn't hit any of the right notes for me, even though I thought it was geared towards me. I felt like he purposely left his own references out. I personally didn't see a lot of Steven Spielberg 80s shit in the movie. I saw no Star Wars stuff. I saw no Raiders of the Lost Ark stuff. The book, which I read, was chock full of Steven Spielberg shit. Iron Giant? Nobody gives a shit about the Iron Giant. Everyone gives a shit about...
Everything you said was right except for the
Okay,
Iron
but
Giant.
then, here was the
That
thing.
movie, that was a...
I would pay $50 to watch The Shining part again. Holy fucking
that
shit.
was good, right?
There's a 7-minute part of this film
Yeah.
where
I
they
knew
go
you would
into
get
The
that.
Shining, and my dick got hard.
So, technically superior
Did
movie. As
you
it
watch
went
it
on...
did you watch it in 3D or 2D?
Yeah, 3D.
I watched it in 2D.
It was a little overwhelming to the point that I almost wanted to stop paying attention because it was too much. There were characters in there I have no fucking idea what they were. I think it was a missed opportunity. He shouldn't have been directing his own iconic
Because
stuff.
I felt like he was being modest and said, I can't use my
He
own
deliberately
stuff.
stayed away from E.T. The big ones were gone. There were
Indiana
more
Jones.
gamer references than there were about complete pop culture references in there. You had the DeLorean with the Knight Rider lights on the front.
Right.
That was all interesting to a point.
And the TV
But it was
show...
but it was also a missed opportunity to...
The Netflix TV show Stranger Things, I feel like, did better.
The notes were simpler. It sounded like somebody who's taken advantage of Stranger Things to make...
But didn't do it very well.
But didn't do it great. It's like a director that was trying to go back and be something he used to be. And he wasn't that anymore.
Let me ask you this. Do you think picking Spielberg to do a love letter to Spielberg was wrong because he doesn't have perspective?
Yes.
He doesn't understand
No,
how...
he doesn't know why his movies were good because...
He's not outside
He's not
of
outside
himself.
of himself.
Exactly.
I need a different perspective to look, but somebody should look back on that and do homages to my work, not make me do an homage to myself.
Yeah, because I felt like he tried hard to do homages to Zemeckis and Kubrick.
There was
because those were his heroes.
And even Alan Silvestri comes back and does he basically writes the Back to the Future theme again in the movie.
Right.
Which was, we could have done a little better. We could have gotten somebody who understood Alan Silvestri's theme and maybe did something different with it.
Sure.
Maybe warped it on itself a little bit.
I can't believe Ernest Cline wasn't like, we need someone other than
Think of
Spielberg.
the book, man. Think of the book.
And did you read the book?
I listened to it.
The book was chock full of Spielberg.
It was not some dense tome. It was really easy to... It was a young adult book,
I agree.
And so, but the problem is it was full of opportunity to draw correlations between today's Facebook problems and this.
Yeah, and the other thing about the book that I think they missed was I was really fascinated in the book with the fact that people had checked out from regular state-run governmental organizations.
Yeah.
Like they still existed, but they couldn't figure out why no one paid attention, no one voted, because they're all living their lives.
And in the beginning, it looked like they were going to do this.
Right.
in the beginning of the movie where he panned down to all the
trailers stacked on each other, yeah.
and people with the visual things, I'm like, I still believe, and this movie reaffirmed that this will be the future.
I agree.
And I
that's
dumped
the
more
future.
money into NVIDIA because I believe that this is going to happen.
I agree.
So, and it's gonna get worse.
And like what we were talking about earlier, this is the sad. Actually, technology is going to go that way as opposed to us going to Mars.
the moon. Right.
We're all going to be poor, but we're all going to live in a virtual world.
Because the technology is going to be served for us getting our dicks sucked, not serve us to better us or make us better or extend us,
advance the human
or
race.
advance us into something more.
Right. And a lot of people that criticize the book Ready Player One is just a nostalgia trip. I said no. The interesting part of Ready Player One, the book, was that part.
But the interesting part he didn't do.
He didn't do that part.
Right.
He just ignored that part.
Right.
And so it had that typical new Spielberg of like Jurassic Park-y kind of like,
and
you've got this
the whole part.
vanilla hero with a vanilla heroine, and they're going to kiss. It almost makes, to me, asexualism. Like, I almost don't want the heroes to kiss because they're not even humans. It's like, ooh.
Yeah, there's
there's no.
Also, him confessing his love for her was completely out of line.
Yes,
it was completely misplaced. He had no business saying such nonsense to her, and in the context of the movie.
But he almost made like a peck on the cheek become such a. It's
in,
almost like
in the book there was some history, and he ended up leaving that place that they found and got an apartment, and set up and had a whole setup with
and I thought they
and
missed an
everything.
opportunity too with the character that was his best friend.
Yeah,
they made it a very butch black woman who should have competed for his affection in real. If the movie was good,
that would have been.
But like he totally poo-pooed that she could be his love interest, even though they were best friends online, because she looks like a dyke black woman. So he instantly was just like...
Well, also, but they set that up with the character when they put him in...
right, but I was sitting there thinking there was an opportunity for...
Put her avatar in...
For her avatar to be like, I really should be in love with you because me and you have bonded in a way...
Yeah, that was an opportunity to show a depth of feeling between those two characters that never got to happen.
That had nothing to do with looks.
It never happened.
And then the only thing they did for the heroine to make her an oddball was to put a birthmark over her eye, which she was still stunningly Christina Ricci gorgeous. So it was like, come on.
Oh, you're really hiding.
I feel like Spielberg has this veneer that I can't get through. And it's like he doesn't understand what attraction between humans is. It's so vanilla and it's so...
Yeah, he doesn't do that kind of emotion very well.
It's surfacey.
He did other things like Schindler's List, like he can do other emotions really well.
I think it's the best Spielberg movie. I don't want to watch it.
No.
I don't want to see it.
But you know that it's...
But when I watched it, I thought it was amazing. When I saw that little girl in the red dress.
I don't know that I walked into Ready Player One expecting depth, but I expected more than just extended battle sequences with...
Which kind of bored me. Did it kind of bore you?
With like characters that I only knew tangentially or I knew were supposed to be something.
I felt like if you had given the Stranger Things guys this movie...
The references would have been more on the nose.
So on the nose, you'd have been like, oh my God, I love this.
And placed in the right way.
In the right way.
It was like Spielberg was trying to be subtle, but wasn't.
How can you do it?
Did this movie make a lot of money?
I think it is making a lot of money.
Okay, well, some studio.
And I already saw an article that they're already making Armada, Ernest Cline's next book.
Ben Mendelsohn was pretty good. He polished that turd pretty well.
Yeah.
Did the best he could, but he was given the responsibility of being the cartoonish bad guy.
I know, but I told Megan he is the new Gary Oldman because he's in Star Wars. He's in everything. But you watch him in did you see him in that show that was on Netflix with the guy from Friday Night Lights?
Did I?
Okay,
Bloodline. Don't even get me started on Bloodline.
and did you see him in...
Fuck that show, by the way.
Okay, by the way, yeah, I'm with you on that. But did you see him in the movie Animal Kingdom?
Give me the plot.
It's an Australian movie, and Ben Mendelsohn is Australian, and it's about a
this.
kid that his family gets killed, and he kind of joins up with this other family that's a crime family. Ben Mendelsohn is like a psychopath. But anyway,
Yeah.
Ben Mendelsohn is like this terrible... Like, he can play these low-down, trashy, like in Bloodline, rednecks.
Did a great job.
And you're like, he's doing that. He's killing it. And then all of a sudden he plays this guy in a three-piece suit in Ready Player One, and you're like, he's killing it. His whole thing is he just plays evil well.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what form it's in. If he's the bad guy... Well, Henry, I think we have done Florida. I think we've done Ready Player One. I think we've done pretty much everything this episode that we wanted. We've talked it out. Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up?
Nope.
Since this is our potpourri segment.
I think we're good. I think that we're going to shut it down. We ain't got no goddamn band, Chris.
Oh, we don't need no fancy words. I mean, we need to practice. We need to rehearse.
I'll tell you what we need. We need some paying gigs. We don't need this messing around, first one patio and then another, and that's ridiculous.
We don't got no goddamn